Live with Dalton Kates, fantasy football manager. Is that what that cup says?
Yeah, my mom got this for me for Hanukkah.
Fantasy football manager for Hanukkah. That's the best.
I love
That's
it.
great. Like I was waiting for like a joke, right? Like fantasy football, like some play on words, right? Like either you're a superstar or you're you finish last or something. But no, it's just down the middle. Like I'm a
Yeah,
manager.
just
I'm a fantasy football. Thanks, mom. You're right.
it's like
You nailed it.
a fantasy little cup right there. We love it. Professional. Straight
Yeah,
to the point.
yeah. So let's make sure you're up on the mic.
Yeah.
For the show, for sure. And but yeah, we are live on YouTube and all the streaming services right now, and we're in a little pre-show action. Oh, we've already got Space Monkey Mafia says Zeke is toast. Let's go. Okay. So we have to wait months for Zeke to actually be released? Is it like a post
Yeah, post
June
June
1
1.
release?
That's what it looks like.
So
There's
they're telling us now. So they're leaking it now. Why? So he won't participate in any. He won't show up to the facility at all. Is that why they're saying it now? Like leak it now so he doesn't show up.
Yeah, I've no idea what's going on with that. I think we can just create more jokes over the next like 3 months until it happens.
And
Just
then
about
if
how
they don't draft Bijan, Pollard's looking pretty good. He's been franchise tagged. If they don't draft Bijan, we have a wheels up situation for Tony Pollard, baby.
yeah, no, I think Pollard's going to be in a very good spot. Very, very good spot.
But there's going to be a bunch of running backs that are getting no money in free agency.
Mhm.
They could bring in Kareem Hunt. They
Yeah.
could bring in a bunch of guys. Damian Harris. There's going to be so many guys floating out there in the wind. Miles Sanders.
Yep.
So while I'm excited, and I think that because he's franchise tagged, he'll certainly be making more money than any of these other guys. I just want to make sure that he gets through free agency and gets through the draft without too much touch competition.
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to think when a team franchises a player like a running back like Tony Pollard, you're paying him that much money, you're going to make him the guy. But it's Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys we're talking about here. So we have no idea what's going to happen. For all we know, they're going to go ahead and sign Damian Harris and then draft a running back. They have this identity that they want to run the ball a certain way. And I don't know if they view Pollard like truly as a guy that can get 20 to 25 touches a game. Like, I feel like, Matt, like, we probably think he can. Like, we know Pollard is an electric running back. If I'm running a franchise, I want him as the type of running back that I can use in all different phases of the game. But the Cowboys have shown their hand for however long Jerry Jones has run this franchise. He has had a running back. Edner and James. He's moving on to these guys. Emmitt Smith. Now he has Ezekiel Elliott. Tony Pollard. Is Tony Pollard in the same realm? I don't know if they view him that way. So
No, he's not. He's not Emmitt Smith. He's not Ezekiel Elliott. They could draft a guy from Texas, not Bijan, not
I
named
was
Bijan Robinson. They could draft Roshan Johnson.
yes. I was actually
That's
going
an
to mention.
option. They could draft Kendre Miller. These are
Love
some
it.
guys they could bring in, and that wouldn't be that bad. That would be great for, I mean, sure, Tony Pollard will be the primary back in year one. And then, he's suddenly past the age apex, and it becomes a real specialist backfield at that point, with Pollard still as an RB2 in fantasy because he's getting highly valuable touches in the passing game, especially. He'll still be used all over the field. But then they start to incorporate Roshan Johnson or Kendre Miller more into the offense as time goes on. That's not bad at all. That's not bad at all.
No.
The idea that they're not going to bring in anybody, if they do cut Zeke, there's this gaping hole where they have two more running back positions they have to fill because it's not Rico Dowdle either. It's probably going to be one free agent and one rookie. And they're not going to have the Tony Pollard skill set. They'll probably have more of the Kendre Miller skill set and then maybe even more of a scat back type skill set as well. They could do a scat back and they could do like a between the tackles runner with juice. I think that would be a great compliment where, yes, Pollard's your main guy, but you've got a guy with like a Latavius Murray skill set, like a young Latavius Murray who is a breakaway runner with size. I'm thinking Kendre Miller first and foremost there. And then some 190-pound guy that can at least rotate in with Pollard on passing down some. That would make sense. That would be a nice little a diverse group of different types of skill sets in that backfield.
Yeah, they definitely need a grinder. I think Roschon was probably the one that came to mind as like the perfect fit alongside of a Tony Pollard. So I love that you bring that up because that was my first thought was like, he's the perfect big back that you can kind of complement with each other. And there's not a lot of pressure for Roschon to perform in year one because you already have Pollard that can kind of lean on him. But you can kind of start moving the chains there and use him more as the grinder, the kind of same way that you're using Zeke the last year, where like Zeke was essentially like a grinder, like a guy that you're putting there in the end zone trying to, bulldoze his way into touchdowns. Like it was mind blowing how many touchdowns Zeke Elliott had last year. Like I think it was like 12 or something ridiculous. Like because they just get down there and they push him in. It's like they probably want another guy that's able to do that. I don't know if it's in free agency. I'm thinking of guys like maybe like a Damian Harris would probably be good. And then when it comes to the draft, like Roschon would probably be the two guys that fit well with a Tony Pollard, where there's not a lot of pressure for them to give Pollard a bunch of massive
See,
touches.
if it was both Roschon and Damian Harris, I wouldn't love that for Tony Pollard. Yeah. That'd be too much. That's too much talent at the running back. Then we're going overboard. Okay, maybe they could go the opposite direction. Maybe they could bring in like a Dante Foreman. He wouldn't be a threat to Pollard, really. He'd be just straight up, just meat shield grinder of a player. Perfect. Like you're certainly going to give him some touchdowns, and that's fine. No one thinks Pollard's going to score all the touchdowns anyway. And then they could draft like an A-chain. They could draft a full-blown sort of electric satellite back type player. They could do that too. And then you could be used on special teams and all those things. And then in certain packages, like a Tariq Cohen, right? They could use A-chain for that. That would make some sense with the main guy. But there's a threshold of running back talent I want them to bring in without squeezing the touches for Pollard too much.
Exactly.
That's great pre-show, Dalton. That's great pre-show. Let me bring you in for real now, okay? Bring you in for real. Welcome to the Mind of Mansion program. The king of the wait, hold on. Let's see. Let me put this just right. Oh yeah, I know what it is. Welcome to the Mind of Mansion program. The king of the Hail Mary parlay. That's right. If it's a parlay featuring Kyle Pitts and Elijah Moore, it's probably Dalton Kates that has it. That's right. This guy has it. Joining me today, it is Dalton Kates. Talk to me.
Electric. Absolutely electric. Those intros are amazing.
I love them. They're fun.
Yeah. The parlays this year were amazing. Every year putting Kyle Pitts and Elijah Moore in. I mean, I would like to say it was really fun, but it was not fun. It was not fun this year. But there's always next year. We can always add new fun guys to our little long shot parlays every single week. And then, maybe one of these days they hit and then, you buy a yacht and retire and then have a good day. So
I love the screen caps, man. I love the screen caps. You're like, listen, I got alt line on Pitts. I got alt line on A.J. Brown. I got alt line on Elijah Moore. Let's see what happens.
100%. Next year's going to be Treylon Burks, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, all the second-year guys. We're running those guys back. And then on top of that, we are also throwing Kyle Pitts back in there again. We are not fading the man. We are keeping it going strong.
Back to the well on Pitts.
Oh, yeah. We ain't dead. We aren't dead.
No, he's far from dead. He's a tight end. He's a super young tight end, one of the youngest tight end prospects ever to enter the league, and one of the most impressive and the first drafted ever, like the highest drafted tight end we've ever seen. So on many, many, many levels, he's a guy you don't fade and you go back to that well, no doubt. How does that make you feel about Drake London, though? If you love Pitts, can you also love London? It's impossible.
No, you
No,
can
it's
love
possible.
you can love Drake London. I
Okay.
actually one of my biggest stances right now is having another elite playmaker alongside of you as a wide receiver, like actually helps your efficiency. And we've seen it a lot in fantasy. Like look at
Right.
these duos: AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill. We saw Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelsey in the past. Like you have two really good guys alongside each other. It actually benefits the offense as a whole, makes them more efficient. Yeah, maybe they might get squeezed a little bit here targets, but efficiency makes up for it. More touchdowns. We want these guys to be alongside each other. It is very good that Drake London has a Kyle Pitts, and it was a good thing that Drake London was attached to Kyle Pitts last year. The only thing is, can we get a freaking quarterback for this dang team, man? So we can actually throw the ball, not run the ball like Neanderthals every single freaking play. Have Kyle Pitts in there pass blocking because you don't have anything going on. Like, come on, like let's do something here, Arthur Smith. Like, realize what you have. You don't invest two top 10 picks in back-to-back years on elite like wide receiver. Well, for Kyle Pitts is basically wide receiver prospect type players, and then just run the ball. It just let's just fix it this year. Let's fix it this year. We'll give you a pass, Arthur. Just do your thing and apologize to us, but by giving them fantasy points, please.
Yeah, the problem is they're giving a bunch of money to a guard in Lindstrom, and they're bringing in Jonnu Smith, another tight end. He's a versatile tight end. He's more of an H-back. He's a great blocker. I don't hate the move. I think this is an identity-based free agent class that Atlanta's bringing in. They're saying, hey, we're going to embrace this run-first identity, at least for this year, knowing that it is Ritter. And Carolina's already, right, mortgaged everything to move up. The idea that we could move up to the Arizona pick is possible, right? So it's in play. The map has been drawn. We now know what it's going to take, what it's going to cost. Certainly going to cost a lot less to move up to 103 than it did 101. It's possible. That would be very exciting if they move up to 103. If Atlanta gets Anthony Richardson by moving up to 103, you're very happy.
Oh, yeah. You're
Richardson
excited.
to Pitts. Shower narrative.
He's back. That's it. And we've seen the shower narrative play out so much more in recent memory. And Kyle Pitts is probably like if Kyle Pitts actually thinks Anthony Richardson's good, he's throwing out some little owls there. He's dropping some letters off at the office. Hey guys, this is my guy.
The
This is
owls.
my guy.
Oh, I love a good Harry Potter reference. I'm actually wearing a Harry Potter shirt right now. This is a Dobby. Look at Dobby. What's up, guys? Look at that. It's creepy. I know it's creepy, but he's I'm a fan. I'm a Harry Potter fan.
Me too, man. Grew up with it. It's a good team. I just found out I was a Gryffindor the other day, by the way.
Oh, you did one of those personality tests.
Yeah, it's one test.
My daughter did that. I always, by the way, reverse engineer those tests so that I hit all the Slytherins. So I'm always locked into Slytherin. It's like you're the most Slytherin since Draco Malfoy.
Yeah,
is what they say to me. And my daughter's like, that's not a real answer. That's not true. You don't really think that. That's not your personality. You're just trying to get into Slytherin. I'm like, damn right I'm trying to get into Slytherin. Slytherin sounds awesome. Slytherin's badass, man.
Yeah, man.
Hell yeah, these guys, they show up like, riding motorcycles, Hell's Angels. If there was one of these houses was like a Hell's Angel house, right? Where they were, always dabbling in the dark arts. Hell yeah, that's the house I want to get into. Like, what are you in? Oh, she's like Hufflepuff. I'm like, yeah, cool. Yeah, we'll, let me know how that works out when I'm summoning like a giant serpent. Let me know.
I feel like you're part of like the biker gang if you're like in Slytherin, like the biker gang.
That's right.
Over there, and they roll together. They're a tight knit crew, and they make things happen, man. And
that's right. They have a tight knit crew. I'm sure there's a shower narrative there with Slytherins. Like, oh yeah, so I know where you're going. Like when you're riding your broom, I'm sure I know exactly where you're going to turn, etc. So
Arthur Smith is a Slytherin, by the way. Arthur Smith's 100% a Slytherin.
He probably, yeah, I would think so.
Definitely a Slytherin.
I also like the aesthetic. I'm kind of a fan of snakes. Yeah, I like the Atlanta aesthetic, right? I think just I bought my daughter a Dirty Bird Deion Sanders jersey. So she went to on Super Bowl Monday or Super Bowl Friday, actually. Everybody wears a football jersey or some sort of sports shirt to her school. It's their theme. And I go, did anyone have a cooler jersey than you? You were wearing a Sanders Dirty Bird jersey, right? She's like, yeah, no, I had the coolest jersey. People said that. She's like, the gym teacher told me I had the coolest jersey. I was like, there it is. There it is. No doubt about it. If you got the gym teacher seal of approval means that your dad is shopping well for your sports gear.
100%. You're setting them up well right now, Matt.
She knows what's cool. And then we got to pull up Deion Sanders on YouTube. And then, he has the giant shoulder pads, and they don't look quite as fast back then as they. And I was like, just trust me. You just trust me. This guy's electric. She's like, I don't know. This looks a little slow. Like, no, you got to trust me. Though. You can't tell the way the grainy footage is, but he was really amazing. You just trust me. Now, let me ask you this. You are analyzing rookies in particular because you're at Mojo and they create basically a lifetime bet on a player, right, at Mojo. So you start the stock price on a particular player at some level, and then ideally they outperform expectations and they move up. Of the running backs you saw at the combine, of the young running backs going to be in the draft, give me a couple that you see moving up in the process.
One that didn't perform at the combine, but run in the combine that I'm really excited about is Kendre Miller. Like he's one of the ones that I think by him not testing, it actually is. I wouldn't say it's a good thing, but like every single thing that I'm watching with him, like he's able to like break away from runners at like 215 pounds. And you're like looking and like, this guy probably has like low 4.4 speed. He probably would have crushed. Like he has good size. Like what is there not to like about him? Like he just reminds me of like a faster Javonte Williams. And I don't know if he's going to get the same like early second round draft capital that Javonte got, but like, dude, if like Kendre gets top 70 overall pick in that consideration, like we're talking about like a legitimate, like one of the best young dynamic running backs in the entire game. Like we love the guys. Like for me personally, I love the guys that don't necessarily have this, or like they broke out late in college, but they showed signs early on that they were efficient. And there's a reason why they potentially didn't have a job ahead of them. Zach Evans was at TCU that kind of blocked Kendre Miller. And Kendre was showing how good he was early on in his career. And then this year he was able to break out and show that, hey, I can still maintain this efficiency when I'm getting the touches. And for me, like he's somebody that like, it's just, I'm really, really excited about him and think that he's somebody that's going to rise a ton. I also like.
Hold on.
I
he stuffed Zach Evans in a locker.
Yeah,
that's what he did at TCU. Just everybody knows he stuffed Zach Evans in a locker, and we believe that if there's anyone that's going to be the Kenneth Walker of this class, it's going to be Kendre Miller.
Yep. Yeah.
Absolutely. Not a significant pass catcher in college. 12 catches in only 10 games, right? In his breakout season of 2021, then doesn't really build on that. Only has 16 receptions the following season, but that just wasn't their offense. Their offense was, hey, when we give the ball to Miller out of the backfield, he's going to run it. We're not going to really throw to the running back as much. Does that mean the guy can't catch? No, he still has a 34 percentile college target share. Yep. Right? So it's not awful, right? So it's just good enough, and then that's why you go to the combine so you can watch these guys. This is a very interesting pro day. We're going to see if he does any of the drills. to just get an assessment on, can this guy at least be an adequate pass catcher out of the backfield? That's all you needed to see from Kenneth Walker. And now Kenneth Walker's like a top 3 dynasty running back. And Miller is on that trajectory. Just need to get some affirmation from the boots on the ground that this guy is adequate as a receiver. That's all we need. Because if he's that fast at that size, the rest of it will take care of itself. The explosive runs at the NFL level. And he's a bad man. He's a lot, man. He reminds me a lot of Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, he's a fun player. Like I normally like try and go with a very skeptical mindset when I watch these guys of like try and like nitpick and be like, okay, why would he not be able to do something in the pros? And I'm just like, a lot of things I'm looking for is like contact balance is something that you can translate very well. He's great yards after the contact, like one of the best last year and like even prior years at TCU. Each year, like that stuff translates. And then when you have the speed as well to kind of, break away from guys, like I think that's what makes you really unique. Now, the one question is, Matt, and this is the big one for me, and I haven't gotten a full gauge on it because it doesn't seem like he's viewed in NFL circles with like the second tier guys like Jahmyr Gibbs or Zach Charbonnet. So for me, it is, do teams potentially value him enough as either like a pass blocker, a pass catcher to then give him potentially like late round 2, early round 3 capital? And if that happens, I think like that will say a lot about teams and how they view him in a potential role. But if they kind of view him as somebody that can't, do some of those other things and is more of a grinder that's just really explosive and can do things with the ball in his hands, then maybe he goes late day 3. And that's where the questions really start to come in about Kendre.
Yeah, then he's Kevin Smith, right?
Yeah, we don't
want that, right? So, we basically have 3 guys outside of Robinson and Gibbs. We have 3 guys. We have Charbonnet, Johnson, and Kendre Miller. So these are the 3 guys that we are super bullish on. You can go to our Dynasty rankings and see where of the rookies where we have Charbonnet versus Johnson versus Miller. Check it out, playerprofiler.com. We're going to plant our flags with those 3 running backs in the top 5. And then the other people, they think they have Bigsby in there. They've got A-Chain in there, Evans. Fine. You guys, I'm very comfortable that these are the guys that we're riding with at running back.
No, I'm with you as well. Zach Charbonnet was another one that really surprised me athletically a little bit. I would say I didn't expect him to really run a fast 40 time, but the way he broad jumped and did some of those other drills that gave him a really good athletic profile, that was really encouraging. Because he was somebody I liked and he looked good, but I was just curious about some of the other things in terms of his athletic profile that can kind of put him over the hump and kind of keep him square there in that tier 2 or maybe as like the RB3, RB4 in this class. And I think he kind of, settled all doubts there. And because of that, he's also probably going to be the 3rd running back drafted. It feels like probably like early day 2, like early round 2 in that like 40 range. And he's probably going to end up at a good spot too. Like he's probably like he
checks
could go
a lot of boxes. This guy, man. I mean, in terms of 30 plus catches in college, all the size. We talked about the athletic profile, the explosiveness. So it's you can't have Miller ranked ahead of Charbonnet, given how locked in Charbonnet is, given his testing and his whole sort of production profile through 4 years. But Miller has the youth and he has that what's in the box, unknown quality to him, where there's very few, if any, guys other than Bijan that have that kind of breakaway run plus tackle breaking ability.
Yeah.
And that's why you talked about Javonte Williams, right? But that was the thing. Javonte Williams doesn't have the breakaway run ability like a Kenneth Walker. That's why I think Kenneth Walker is actually a little bit better comp than Javonte Williams. Now, what about the guys moving down? What about the guys where you're like, okay, this didn't work out. Sorry, buddy. I'm not drafting you. You're out.
Deuce Vaughn.
Yeah, Deuce Vaughn, bye-bye. That was an easy one, right? So Deuce Vaughn.
I have another one.
Well, let's dig into Deuce Vaughn, because we haven't really talked too much about Deuce Vaughn, but he was a dropper. He weighed in at 179, and he's actually 5'5".
Oh man.
Which is crazy. He's like a smaller Philip Lindsay. And just so everybody knows, if you're a smaller Philip Lindsay, you're probably doomed.
Yeah. No, my comp for him is if Tutu Atwell were a running back. Good production profile in college. We like him. Like, he has a great skill set. Like, he's actually a really good running back. But like
50 catches.
He's everything you want, except he's like so small. Like, you're not
small.
like an NFL running back with that size. You are a great college running back. You're great skilled. Like, he's probably a guy that off the field like crushed it. Like, he came in Kansas State, was like a starter day one there, like 5'5", like, and just was electric. Like, it's everything that you want. But like, the NFL is the best of the best, and you have grown men playing the game there. You have to be able to withstand a workload, and some team might take him like in the 4th, 5th, 6th round. But I'm like, I would be shocked if he's a top 3 round pick. Like, I just would be shocked just based off of that. And
he's the running back version of Nathaniel Dell.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like
It's too bad. It's too bad. Anyone else that you're now super bearish on?
I wouldn't say super bearish, but Devin Achane is somebody that I'm really starting to question a little bit. And I think it's a skill set is he feels like he's a very skilled running back, but he does it like in between the tackles a lot, like, which is like weird for a guy his size. Like, I ideally want somebody that is smaller to have more outside breaking ability, get utilized a lot more in different ways, where I feel like his entire style is a lot like inside grindy, like, let's go and then we're gonna go break a big play. And also, like, I think like it's weird to say a guy who ran like a low 4.3 is like disappointed at the combine, but I legitimately walked into the combine being like, this guy's a chance to break the record. Like, he's a track superstar and everything. So for me, like, him going and getting like a 4.34, I believe it was, like, that for me, like, it's weird to say, but it felt like underwhelming in a sense, where I was like, I wanted this guy who's at his weight to like blaze like a 4.25 or like something along those lines. And for me, like, it's really hard to see a lot of like super high upside scenarios for him because of his size and because of his style of running. Like, it's hard for me to really find a comp for him that I've seen at the next level that makes me super excited about his massive upside. So for me, he's just somebody that he's probably going to get like late round 2 draft capital. And then when I'm in rookie drafts and I'm sitting there and I'm debating between like a him or a Kendre or maybe like a Tajay Spears or like a Zach Evans, or like even one of the wide receivers, like, in what scenarios is Devin Achane like this superstar elite running back in the league? I just don't know if I really see that from him.
We've seen it before with Chris Johnson. Okay. We've seen Chris Johnson be 190 pounds and essentially be a between the tackles explosive playmaker. Like, doesn't have the hip swivel. Chris Johnson never had the hip swivel, right? He's sort of an upright runner, actually, which is weird. Whereas you look at the metrics and they're like, well, this guy comps something like Tariq Cohen, but Tariq Cohen had incredible lateral agility, right? Very fluid hips, right? That was his whole thing. And then it translates to being a playmaker on the perimeter. Whereas a guy like Achane, he's more of a down the middle playmaker where they're just trying to open up a gap, to the left or the right of the center and get him to explode through it. And then it's the shortest distance between 2 points to get him to the end zone. That was the math they were doing when they were handing it off to Achane, which works in college. It's just that those plays rarely open up at the professional level. So someone with that size, they really need to be a joystick type player in order to add value to an NFL team. He's going to get drafted. They're going to find a spot for him. They're going to play him. We're going to see what happens with what his role ultimately is in the NFL, but I don't know what it's going to be. And for that reason, we don't have him in the top 5. Most people do, especially the projected draft capital has him locked into day 2.
Yep.
We're going to see what happens. We'll see what happens. It may be, and this is from Cody, it may be that NFL evaluators also are having this dilemma, and it may create a situation where he slips in the draft because no one can map him to a particular role in their system because he is this interesting outlier type player. There was not a player like Chris Johnson when Chris Johnson came along. And the way they used him, they really had to grind him up and spit him out in the league because he wasn't built to have a 200 plus carries, but that's what they said. This is what you're going to have to do. If you're not going to be running great routes and catching a lot of passes, and you're not going to be this perimeter weapon, well, we're going to have to run you up the middle, and you're going to have to deal with injuries. And so we'll see what happens to him in the pros. He's going to get hurt. That I can tell you right away. I respect him a ton. He is going to get hurt. That is one thing that I can tell you for sure, given that he has a 27.8 BMI and what his running style is.
Yeah. Do you know that Chris Johnson comp is really interesting that you brought that up? Because there's another play in this class who literally reminded me of like a spitting image of Chris Johnson. And that was Jahmyr Gibbs. When I saw Jahmyr Gibbs, and I was like, oh my God, this guy is like basically the second coming of Chris Johnson. Like elite speed, he goes ahead, has similar frame, he's able to catch passes out of the backfield. He's probably going to get late day 1 capital as well. Like it just reminds me so much of Chris Johnson coming out in terms of profile, in terms of how he's built, like the type of ways that he wins as a running back. And for me, like that's somebody that I was like, oh my gosh, like this guy is somebody that like, and he has an extra 10 pounds on a chain too. And the thing about Gibbs versus a chain is Gibbs is also probably going to get the day 1 capital, if not like one of the first picks in the second round. Where I think that's one of the things where some team is going to look at him and be like, oh my God, like we can make this guy happen.
Well, it's interesting in that he's better as a receiver than A-Chain is, right? Mm-hmm. So he has a little more of the fluidity that you're looking for than A-Chain. So in that way, he's not that comparable to Chris Johnson. He's considerably bigger than Chris Johnson was and A-Chain. That's why he's comped to CJ Spiller, because we wouldn't comp him to someone as fast as Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson's so fast, it's impossible to comp to him unless you had almost exactly A-Chain's measurables. Could you even get the closest comp to be him? It's more Spiller, but I can also see A-Chain being Spiller.
Yeah.
And then Gibbs, in terms of how their careers play out, being Chris Johnson.
Yep, I think that's fair.
That's totally possible. That's not how their physical measurables line up, but in terms of their NFL careers, I could see that happening. Gibbs, I think, has also a higher probability of being more of a McCaffrey, Eckler type player too than CJ Spiller or A-Chain or Chris Johnson ever had that ability. That's why Gibbs is so exciting. That's why it's a legit debate in Dynasty. If you're in a single quarterback league and you're at the 102, it's a debate between Jackson Smith and Jigba and Jahmyr Gibbs. It's not automatically JSN. It's not.
Well, Matt, you love your running backs, so I thought you'd almost go Gibbs there, and I'm here to argue for the wide receiver always. We had this fun debate last year, and I was probably wrong about the Burks versus Breece Hall debate at 101. But I think it's another fun little debate.
Wait, hold on. Can I just real quick? Probably wrong.
We got to see how Breece Hall comes back off the injury, and then, but to be fair, Burks actually looked really good. The man just couldn't stay healthy. I mean, to be fair, same with Breece Hall.
No, Burks looked good. But Breece Hall's on another level.
Yes.
And there are just so few players like Breece Hall in fantasy football that you want that guy, there are a lot of, you would agree, a lot of wide receivers that are going to give you what Burks is going to give you.
Yeah.
Not so much with Breece Hall. So that's the argument. That's really a scarcity argument. Gibbs has that argument going for him. And that Jackson Smith-Njigba looks like a bunch of other receivers that have come before him that have been very successful, right? Probably the highest end guy would be CeeDee Lamb, right? In terms of guys that look like Jackson Smith-Njigba. And then you can work your way down. There's, Devontae Smith, there's a bunch of them, right? Gibbs could vault himself into the top 3 running backs in all of fantasy and Dynasty quickly. Easy. So that is, it's a safer bet to go JSN. He has less fragility with his lifetime value rating, but Gibbs has the upside. That would be the argument for going Gibbs. They're very close in our overall rookie rankings, very close.
Yeah, no, I think it actually is like one of the more interesting debates this year, and it's a really interesting pivot point too. For me personally, I'm always going to lean wide receiver on this, but I do think now there's in Dynasty specifically, just with the running back position just being a freaking wasteland. Like, if you find a good rookie running back, like that guy is just worth everything in a share of gold. And the wide receivers, we've seen so many good wide receiver classes come out recently too, where it's like it kind of devalues that a little bit. So I can for sure get behind the argument of Gibbs over JSN. For me, like I think JSN is like special. Like this guy's like top 5 Dynasty receiver, like week in, week out. Like he just, every year you're drafting him first round in fantasy type player. Like I think he is that good to where I don't necessarily want to potentially miss out on that. But again, like I think Gibbs is going to be great too. So
yeah, we already have Jackson Smith-Njigba as a top 15 receiver overall. Right?
I love it.
He's already top 15 overall, and it's not that far for him to go to overtake the Waddles and the Olaves and the Devontae Smiths. It's not that far to go. Like to get all the way up to Garrett Wilson to start to crack the top 5 wouldn't take that much.
Yeah.
Right? It's a pretty smooth path for him to get up there. Now I'm almost convinced that he has just as much upside as Gibbs. I guess I'm back on JSN. I was on Gibbs. I'm on JSN. Dude. It's hard to figure out, man. That's a tough one. I don't criticize anybody for one of those positions or the other. That's the debate of the debates in rookie drafts.
Why you trade down to 103 from 102?
The 103 is nice. The 103 is nice for that reason. Give me a one receiver from this class that you thought helped his case in the combine.
Cedric Tillman.
Yes, he did. Tillman. Didn't he?
Yeah. He has an interesting case just because he didn't like play too much in school. Like he was banged up. It seemed like all throughout college, but he had that really productive year where he outperformed 3rd round legend from the Chicago Bears, Velus Jones, and they also outperformed Jalen Hyatt as a junior. And then this year kind of got banged up a little bit, but he is prototypical size, 6'3", 215, like extremely athletic. And he's like kind of, now you're looking at day 2 receivers and it looks like really gross for a second, but he is somebody, I don't know, maybe like I think a Nico Collins could be a good comp. So maybe like a round 2 late round 2 Nico Collins, something along those lines where I don't know. When I was watching him too, like he reminded me of like his play style. I don't know if you're going to like this, Matt, but like Mike Evans, for better, for worse. He's like really good at body control. Didn't really like, even though he's very athletic, he didn't really do too much after the catch as you would have liked from a receiver with that athletic profile. But again, like he was somebody that I think like popped enough to be like, okay, once like we're in the mid to late round 2 of rookie drafts, like I kind of want to take a stab on him because of the upside there. But I'm not sure he's like a true locked in guy. And I think it says more to the class than anything else, but he's really the only like bright spot in that range.
We're talking ours. Listen, this is how bad the class is, Dalton. You ready for this? This is how bad the
Come on.
class. You and I are both enthusiastic about this year's Nico Collins.
Yeah.
That's a thing that's happening, and he moved up. Like, I love Michael Wilson, but we have Cedric Tillman higher, right? So
Yeah.
Cedric Tillman's right there with like Xavier Hutchinson, Tyler Scott, Michael Wilson. Now Charlie Jones. Charlie Jones, a big mover upper. Charlie Jones is wild. 24 years old, but was the best route runner at the combine. Was a complete dominant producer, 90th percentile dominator rating. Huge target share at Purdue, Big Ten school. His athleticism is better than we thought, above average burst and speed, but because he's only 175, his athleticism score is low. It's just Charlie football, man. Charlie football shredded the combine. You were there, right?
Yeah, I was there. I was watching. I had to leave a little early before like all the skill position guys had to go and do all their stuff, but was there for the environment. Got to talk to some people, pick some brains, learn as much as I could, and yeah, man, it was really interesting, and you could tell that it didn't feel like there was too much enthusiasm about the wide receiver class outside of like the top. I would say like the top like 4 or 5 guys, that main tier. That's where a lot of the enthusiasm was, and it's like after that, it's like, dude, like
I like
Nathaniel
Mims.
Dell.
You like Marvin Mims?
I like Mims. I like Mims. He's somebody that's like he's growing on me a lot, just because of like he kind of just walked on at Oklahoma and started performing really well off the bat. I kind of wish that he just like had that massive like breakthrough season where like yes, like you can do this kind of thing, but like we never saw that. But I think that's also where the value is potentially with him, where it's like a lot of times when that happens. Sometimes you don't see in the NFL, but again, like that could create a value for him where it's like if we see the right aspects of his profile, test it out well athletically, and now it seems like he's probably going to be a day 2 pick, which is obviously going to help his case a ton. Like that now at this point, like he's somebody that at least is worth a flyer and a shot, because if he can put those things together and show what we saw early on in his college career, like, yeah, why not?
9 receiving touchdowns at Oklahoma as an 18-year-old.
Yep.
That's pretty sweet. That is pretty sweet. He's best comparable to Darnell Mooney. And for what you said earlier, you believe that Darnell Mooney was helped by the addition of DJ Moore. DJ Moore will increase the overall production of the offense, more sustained drives because of DJ Moore, more defensive attention going to DJ Moore, and therefore that Darnell Mooney's efficiency and his touchdown scoring goes up, even if his target share goes down. That's your argument?
Yeah, 100%. Actually, yeah, I think that's what actually hurt Darnell Mooney this past year. Was like he had nobody to throw to, and also I think the passing volume is just going to have to go up, because I think part of the reason they were scheming because they didn't have the weapons there, and they tried getting a Claypool and they tried doing that. But like now you have a DJ Moore in, you have Darnell Mooney, Claypool, like they're all going to be like fully healthy heading into the year. Who knows? They're fully live to draft another wide receiver as well to add, and like they almost should draft another receiver as well. Just get Fields as many weapons as possible. Like please, just get.
I guess that's sure. Yeah, I was thinking a running back. Right? They could
the running back for sure. I think anything's on the table with the Bears right now. They have so many holes on the roster, and I think what they realized with that trade down was they need to get Fields up. Like they're signing like offensive linemen in free agency. They got DJ Moore in that trade down. They basically are betting on Fields. The moment you trade out of number 1 overall pick, you are betting on Fields being your guy, and now you have to get things to support him alongside there. So I don't think it's out of the cards, because I think Claypool will be a free agent after this year, if I'm not mistaken. So he could be gone. Darnell Mooney will be a free agent. This will be his 4th year. Yeah. He'll also be a free. So
they might franchise tag him. It depends on what the franchise value is, what the franchise tag value is for tight ends.
Yeah, yeah, right. You're coming back to it, Matt. It's full circle. Give it like 2 more years, and then you can play your clip from before the draft about Claypool.
Dude,
I was on.
I just run out the clock on these takes, man. I run out the clock. My favorite fit for running backs to Chicago is Tajay Spears.
Okay, I
Tajay
like that.
Spears would be just the perfect check down option for Justin Fields. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, I like Tajay a lot. He's a fun little running back, man. I I think that he is like one of like this running back class is like the exact like I feel like the wide receiver and the running back class are exact opposite each other. You have like
Yes.
you have so much depth at this running back. You're excited about a lot of these like fun little guys, and it's just like who's the one that's gonna get the draft capital? Like who are these guys that are gonna get it? And like there's a lot to be excited about Tajay. Like yes, like he might not be the most perfect prospect, but like he's great like contact balance, good yards after the catch, explosive at his last year, 21 touchdowns.
Woo.
This guy absolutely shredded. He has a 3 down skill set. Like great
Awesome.
burst, like that's exactly the type of like fun little dart throw running back where it's like you don't, and this is why we preach like you don't have to spend money on these running backs in free agency. We can go ahead and get a guy like this, maybe like third round. He might even be there like early fourth round. Just get him there, and like he can be productive in that offense. Like why not? Like why are you
Why
spending?
not?
Like, why not?
Talk
Like
about
this
you
is
just
this.
want to surround the guy with the best possible weapons at value. That's the guy. I couldn't believe that he surpassed Eric Gray after the Senior Bowl. Because I came in
Crazy.
thinking, okay, it's going to be fun to watch Roschon and Eric Gray. Next thing I know, I look up and Spears is like 2 spots higher in our rookie rankings than Eric Gray. It's like, later, buddy. Just blew
Yeah,
past him, dude. Blew past him.
amazing, man. And yeah, so he's a fun guy, and I'm really curious to see where NFL evaluators at him. I think that's the key. Is like, do they view him as like this third round? Because we get third round capital for Tajay. It's like, oh baby, wheels up, and we are really excited about. And again, like this the NFL right now, there are so many open, fun opportunities for running backs to go into. Like it's really hard to find scenarios which like a running back could land where you're like, like I don't know. I think there's a lot of like fun spots for these guys. So we're gonna have like these landing spot running backs that are like, okay, yeah, this is a great one. Like who knows? It could be like the Chiefs get one of the guys. The Bears definitely need a guy. The Falcons could potentially get a guy. Panthers, like if they want to build with whoever their quarterback is going to be. There's so many fun spots, man. So
Yeah, we're
many.
going to get into the free agency questions in a minute. We have 10 burning free agency questions coming. Before we get to that, what are your thoughts on Bryce Young potentially getting drafted before Stroud and Richardson? Because it's
In
probably
the
less
NFL,
likely now that Carolina has the 101. But before Carolina moved up, the thinking was, hey, Houston's going to go Bryce Young. And you have
yeah,
a lot of these mock drafters and a lot of these big board people that are posting up Bryce Young as the QB1. That he's the best option at quarterback among this class. It's crazy, right? Or am I not?
I kinda like Bryce. So I think the 204 pounds was somewhat like calming, but again, like was it like 15 pounds of like water weight? Like how much water was this man drinking like the day before? Like we don't know. This guy, I was surprised. I thought it was gonna be like 190 or something, and I would have been happy with that. So 204, maybe. I think the one thing with Bryce Young that is definitely he's definitely I feel like I would say he's probably the safest quarterback, but does he have the most upside? I don't necessarily know in
I
that
think I
sense.
think
I think
Stroud's the safest because you're not betting on outlier size. Stroud is
that
definitely the safest. He doesn't have the arm strength of some of these other guys. I think he has the 4th strongest arm of the big 4. But he also has incredible accuracy. His touchdown to interception ratio is better than any of these other guys. He is safe. Stroud, you know what you're getting. You're getting a guy that is at worst a super competent game manager in the league, and at best he's sort of like an Aaron Rodgers type, Tony Romo level offense elevator, just with incredible pinpoint passing and certainly the requisite arm strength. He doesn't have that Teddy Bridgewater below threshold arm strength. So on a lot of levels, I think that Stroud is the safest. You could also argue that because he has all these qualities, he's also the most upside. He looks the part of a 101. Bryce Young just doesn't look the part of a 101. And we've had so many of these first rounders from Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield, on and on down the board, trying to chase the next Drew Brees. And it's just that to me does not scream safe. That screams we're chasing something. We're chasing something that's not easy to accomplish, which is to have an elite level quarterback in that frame.
I think that's fair. I think my thought process for saying safe is, look, I am not the best quarterback evaluator out there, but I've asked a lot of questions about this quarterback class, just trying to talk to people who know more about me and understand the quarterback position a little better. And the thing with Bryce Young that I've heard versus like a CJ Stroud or some of these other quarterbacks is I feel like you don't have to put as much of a system in place for a guy like Bryce Young versus for a guy like CJ Stroud. Well, like, I feel like CJ Stroud, if he were to go to like Carolina and be their Frank Reich, like that's a great system for CJ Stroud to be in. So like I think like that obviously like calms any concerns that you potentially have about that. But I think the thing about Bryce Young, I think one thing that I've heard is his processing in terms of getting to different levels of the field and getting through his progressions happens a lot quicker than these other guys like CJ Stroud. And the offense that Stroud and some of these guys are in, it's more like one or two read, like you kind of know where you're going. And if you can scheme things well, like they're going to be able to probably do a lot better in that scenario. So I think a lot of it does come down to coaching and those things. But I think just if you're throwing them just in random spots, I think Bryce Young would probably just have just a better floor just from that perspective of it versus like scheming entirely.
Okay, so I say what you're saying is if a team like Carolina, for example, who's technically ready to win now, they have all the pieces, right? They have Ike Ekwonu, they have top 10 defense, maybe top 5 after this draft. We'll see what happens, right? We'll see what happens with how things come together. Looking like they could be the favorite to win the NFC South. If you wanted to maximize the probability that a rookie quarterback has success and takes Team X to the playoffs, Bryce Young's a good bet. I understand that part. But in terms of longevity in the league and will this guy develop into a real franchise quarterback, I think the probability is just higher based on the overall frame and what that means in terms of the probability of success. The comps we have back through time, there's just so few that now we're into an outlier world with 100%. Bryce Young. But I agree with you. It sounds weird to say, but even though Stroud has a higher floor and a higher ceiling, in year one, given his experience, the system he's coming from, and his ability to process information faster than anyone else, as a rookie specifically, you would likely want Bryce Young. That's interesting.
Yeah, because I think the viewpoint on Bryce Young is if this guy were like 6'3", 220, how would we be viewing him? And I'd be like, this guy is the locked in like number 1 overall pick. And that's just personally how I think more teams would feel about it in the NFL. I think if we're looking and we were to poll like GMs and scouts and whatnot, I would say probably like half of them have Bryce Young at quarterback 1. And then it's the teams that yeah, I think it is, and it's really team agnostic and scheme agnostic there, where it's like certain teams will have different quarterbacks. I think this class is what makes it really interesting in the quarterback class is like you have different quarterbacks that almost fit different teams in a sense, and I think that's what makes it fun and unique.
Do you think that Bryce Young is a good fit for Houston then?
I don't know. I don't know enough about that offense or whatnot.
What is Houston? How could you even judge whether that's a fit for anybody? That offense.
That's a really good question. But I think who knows, man? Who knows? I mean, they're getting rid of Cooks. Like, well, they're gonna have the 12th pick. So, dude, if they draft like a what, Bryce Young, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, like we're talking. We're talking.
They're not going to do that. They're going to go with a defensive player. I can guarantee they're going to go Bryce Young and a defensive player. You can write that down. Maybe an edge rusher slips to them.
You're right.
They need a lot of help on defense. So if they get an edge rusher there at 12, a quality edge rusher, they push the button. No problem. All right, you ready for this? We have 10 burning free agency questions coming up for Dalton Kates after this. All right. Burning question number 1. How mad is Davante Adams?
So are you ranking this like on a scale of 1 to 10?
Yeah.
All right. 8.5. He's pretty salty. He left to go to one of his best friends, Derek Carr, he played at Fresno State with, to go to the Raiders. And Derek Carr just imploded, and they got rid of him. And now he's just stuck there. But, like, the reason it's not a 10 is because he has $25 million.
That's true.
And he's doing great right now. Like, he's making more than Jimmy Garoppolo. He's great. Las Vegas, he's probably like in Henderson or like Summerlin, like a nice spot over there. Nice. Like,
he's living Henderson.
He's living great right now.
He's pretty happy.
So actually, I'm going to move it down to an 8 instead of 8 points. Just 8.
Yeah, he's pretty happy. I mean, Jacoby Myers is not a threat. Jacoby Myers is just a possession receiver. Hunter Renfrow, not a threat. The most athletic player that could command targets, Darren Waller, is gone.
Yep.
So he's gonna be super productive. He's gonna have a fun year, even if it's Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo is gonna throw him a couple hospital balls. Unfortunately, he's got to look out for that. So if I'm Davante Adams, you can't win this year. You're not going to go to the playoffs. Spoiler alert. So I would just make sure that when given the option, don't go over the middle, Davante. Don't do it. You will regret it. Jimmy Garoppolo cannot be trusted.
No. And those deep balls, you're not getting any of those. You're not getting any of those.
You're not getting any of those either.
You have to work hard for your yards. Harder for your yards, but you're probably going to get a lot of targets. So good for you.
I was talking to Anand Nanduri that I hosted Decision Point with. He's a former salary cap guru with the NFL. And Las Vegas has to be, at this point, the most incompetent franchise, the most wayward franchise in the NFL, where there's always a team where you look at them, like Houston was there not long ago with Bill O'Brien. You point at them and go, you don't have a plan, and it's only going to get worse before it gets better. And the sooner you realize it, the sooner you can start to heal the franchise and solve the problem. But what you're doing with this masking tape and this wallpaper is not working at all. Like, it's all just going to start coming off the wall. The adhesive fails. It's all going to fall to the ground. And it's going to be embarrassing. It's going to be really embarrassing.
Yeah, I also think if we want to throw another team in there, Josh McDaniel's former team, the New England Patriots, like what the heck is going on there too? Like if we're just being honest, like once Brady leaves, like it just seems like, okay, Mac Jones seemed interesting, and then you're hiring former defensive coordinator Matt Patricia and Joe Judge running your offense, and you're getting him Jacoby Myers, and Jacoby Myers ends up signing for $11 million a year, and you couldn't resign him for that. And who's your number one? Is Devontae Parker? Who's your number two? I don't even freaking know. Do you take Jonnu away? Like, what's your plan? Like, sorry, I just had to get that off my chest. But like, dude,
they should have self-destructed that franchise the moment Brady leaves. You've got the Mac Jones pick in the bank, great pick, right? He can he can survive not having an offensive line. Mac Jones can survive. He'll be fine, right? I'm not worried about Mac Jones. He's such a quick processor. He can get the ball out fast. He's one of the few quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, that you could trust to be on a complete rebuilding team with very few weapons and very little protection. He'll be all right, right? Just throw him out there. He'll be all right. He can manage, right? So that's fine. And just blow the thing up. Get new coaching staff. Like, tell Belichick, listen, it's not going to work. You're the wrong guy for this team. This team needs to go through a rebuild post-Brady. You're the wrong guy to do that. Like, anyone that was having an honest assessment of that franchise would know that Bill's the wrong guy at the wrong time for this particular team. And Kraft needs to come to terms with that. And these teams need to stop signing these coaches like Josh McDaniels, especially coming off having, already flamed out with Denver, and then, teasing these other teams along the way, like the Colts, finally deciding on the Raiders, that he's all in. Like, he has to win. And you can't have a coach in that position. Putting a coach in that position sets him up to fail because he's inevitably going to influence what the general manager is doing. Right? Kyle Shanahan influences John Lynch significantly. We all know that, right? Trey Lance, hello. So I don't even know if John Lynch wanted to draft Trey Lance, but it didn't matter because Kyle Shanahan wanted to draft Trey Lance, so they drafted Trey Lance. In that scenario, you can never rebuild properly, right? You can't. Oh, it's such a tough place to be. But if I were an equity holder of a team, if I had control, like a David Tepper, I would not want to install one of these Josh McDaniels types. I would want to install someone who is more like a Lovie Smith, where it's like, hey, you come in, the players like you, you have experience with it, you've taken a team to a Super Bowl, you know what you're doing, you can manage people, and I can have a conversation with you about what's in the best long-term interest of the franchise and know that you're gonna hold up that end of the bargain. McDaniels, there's no way he could. Like, he's only going to be doing whatever he can to survive from year to year. From 1 year, he's too young. He's too young with his whole career at stake. It's a terrible place for the franchise to be. Terrible.
Yeah, and I think they're also in a spot too where I still think they're probably going to draft the rookie quarterback in the first round. I still think they're in those cards, and they're like, at this point, are they trading up to 3? I know they were in talks to go up to 1. I don't know how far those got, but I know that they were trying to get aggressive there. The contract they gave Jimmy Garoppolo was not like, hey, like, you're our full-blown starter. It's like, hey, like, you can be a starter for us type contract, and then we're going to give you really good backup money type contract. So that hints a lot at, like, and if the Raiders have this persona and they're not self-aware of themselves, and they continue to think, yeah, we're going to be good next year, we're not going to be in a position to have a high pick like this again. The Cardinals are trying to trade out at 3. And the Colts are sitting there at 4, the quarterback. And now you're the Raiders. Are you ending up with Anthony Richardson? Are you ending up with Will Levis?
I think Will Levis.
I think they're going to end up with Will Levis. Like,
they're going to end up with Will Levis. They're just going to take whoever's left. I think what's going to happen is there's going to be somebody left. Ideally, the Lions do not push the button on Will Levis. I would not want that. Please don't, Lions. Please don't submit to that temptation. And then he slips to the Raiders. I think it makes perfect sense. Or that the NFL doesn't like Anthony Richardson as much as fantasy gamers do. And then Anthony Richardson can slip to Vegas at 7. That's also possible. It's possible that the Colts trade out. The Colts realize they can't get one of their 2 guys. Let's say they love Stroud, they love Bryce Young. Those guys go 1-2, and they're not as enamored with Anthony Richardson or Will Levis as many others are. And they're like, you know what, we'll trade out. And then they call the Raiders, they call Atlanta, and they call Washington, and they're like, no, we're not as enthusiastic of those particular quarterbacks as the mock drafting industrial complex is either. So we're not trading up. You guys are stuck. They're like, okay, well, we'll trade down with someone who wants a defensive player then. So then they trade with someone who wants a defensive. So maybe the Colts end up trading down. That's not the craziest thing. That I know we just assume that Ballard, now that we are pretty sure he's not good, we're pretty sure at this point. I mean, didn't they sign a kicker to a big contract? And they gave Matt Gay 4 years, $22.5 million. If you needed yet more evidence that Chris Ballard is not focused on the right details, there you go. There you have it. So they might just say, hey, listen, I know you think that we're going to just take whoever's left, but and we should take Richardson. Absolutely we should. That would be the prudent move. But, we only had two guys we really like, so we're going to trade back. And then suddenly the Raiders have their choice of Richardson or Levis. And then maybe even Atlanta gets a quarterback. It's not crazy, right? It's not crazy that two of those quarterbacks make it to Las Vegas and Atlanta. A lot of moves are yet to be made.
Yeah, I think there is so much that's going to happen here. And this is a theory I have. I think the Colts were trying to get up to 1, might not have offered enough. And now they're sitting there, and one of the guys that they wanted is probably not going to be there. They know the Cardinals at 3 are a prime trade-up spot. So what, are they going to trade up a spot to get into that third spot to get their third option there? Or is another team going to pay the Cardinals more to get to that spot? Now they're stuck with the fourth option. If I'm the Colts, trade back to like early mid-teens. Gather a bunch of picks.
That's the move. There's so much rebuilding to do. If Ballard knew what he was doing, and again, I don't think he does, then he would be looking for a quarterback in 2024, 2025. Right? Caleb Williams is there next year. You get him, of course, right? You push that button. If he's not available to you next year, if you can't get one of these top 2 super premium quarterbacks in the draft, then you keep building at the point of attack. You keep building with tackle and edge and guard, and you keep building up the foundational pieces until you're ready to move in on a quarterback and add that final piece. It's too early in the rebuild process if you're being realistic about what it takes to rebuild the right way for the Colts to even be drafting a quarterback anyway.
I agree. And that was part 1 of my theory. Part 2 is once you do trade back, you put out an offer sheet for Lamar Jackson because they haven't ruled themselves out.
That would be cool. I would like that a lot. Now,
I don't know if I like it for Lamar as like a landing spot because now you're paying Lamar a lot of money and
I like going and getting Lamar. Because I'm a Lamar fan. I think he's now become undervalued. So for any team to go and target him, I think that's a source of value at the quarterback position. And also more evidence that the Raiders are looking at quarterback in this draft is that the Jimmy Garoppolo deal is really only a 1-year deal.
Yep.
Right? They can get out after 1 year, $22 million. It's a clear bridge quarterback deal. Again, I don't know why you even do a bridge quarterback deal. If it's me and I know I'm in a full rebuild, I'm going just straight up Andy Dalton. Like, I'm not even spending the money on Jimmy Garoppolo.
No. Baker Mayfield, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
I don't. Whoever's going to guarantee the most losses. But again, that's not what McDaniel. I don't believe McDaniels is thinking that way. McDaniels is in survival mode, and he's also just in that mode of, I just want players that I've seen and coached before.
Yeah,
and it doesn't really matter what our scouts say. If I know the guy, if I've talked to him, if I've coached him, if I've spent some time in a film room with him, then that's the guy we're going to get. And even though that's only a small percentage of the players that are available, that's all we're going to focus on is Jimmy Garoppolo and Jacoby Myers. And everyone else that's a possibility for us, forget it. Because it's all about me. It's all about Josh McDaniels. Get the fuck out of here. With this. As soon as I saw Garoppolo and Jacoby Myers, I was like, this is so gross. This is what fans hate about the dictator coach. That's, again, why I'm like Dennis Allen, Lovie Smith. That's who I'd want.
Yeah. I mean,
Sorry.
I think, the funny thing is I'm pretty sure they also signed Philip Dorsett as well, a former Patriot as well. So they got the Garoppolo, Jacoby Myers, Philip Dorsett, whoever McDaniels is comfortable with.
Ugh,
He's just bringing him in.
They're going to bring in,
he's bringing
bring in Damian Harris next?
He's bringing the JV Pats team over.
Hell out of here. Hell out of here. So, burning question number 2. How mad is DeAndre Swift?
How mad has he been, or how mad is he currently?
How mad is he now that the Bears have signed David Montgomery?
I'll say a 7. I would say he's already mad from before. I would say deep down, the moment Dan Campbell got hired, it was no bueno for DeAndre Swift, and
he's not tough enough.
He's not. He's not that guy. He's not biting kneecaps. He's not down in the dirt, like doing the Dan Campbell stuff. This is not a guy Dan Campbell drafted. They did not draft him. He was inherited, and we like DeAndre Swift, but I feel like the writing's been on the wall, especially from like year 2 when you signed Jamal Williams off the street, and like he's splitting evenly with Swift, and then last year like Swift's like banged up, but like he's playing like 30-something% of the snaps, and it's like he's explosive on these plays, but you're not playing him, and it's like the writing was on the wall. Like I was kind of surprised it was Montgomery, or like I would have thought if they were to do a running back.
Montgomery's tough. He's tough. He's toughness.
But they have picks. It's like, why are you spending $6 million? Like that was the thing that surprised me. It's like I was like fully locked in on like the Lions at like 18 are drafting Bijan Robinson. I was like, that's going to happen. It was going to be a thing. And then if like somehow he got drafted earlier, they're going to draft like another like running back, whether it's Roshan or somebody else that's like a day 2 type of running back to kind of bring in there and be a guy that Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes have drafted. But we didn't see that, and they wanted to go Dave Montgomery, and like that's fine. But like Swift's just like there, man. I think he's been counting the days since Dan Campbell's been there. He's probably excited for free agency next year. Hopefully he gets enough playing time to prove himself. But like I'm not saying DeAndre Swift is dead by any means, but like it's not good.
His dynasty value's been in free fall. It's going to be corrected on Player Profiler yet again this week. It's precipitous. It's been a precipitous drop in value for him. I don't know where he ends up cratering out at. Where he ends, I mean, what, Cam Akers level territory? This is where he's headed. The teams are out on him, right? The Ravens are more committed to J.K. Dobbins at this point than Detroit is with DeAndre Swift. It's not good. It's not good. What did you think about the signing of Rashad Penny as it relates to Kenneth Gainwell?
I'm a big Penny fan, so I was psyched.
For Penny, it's great. I know, I get it, but he is 27, so it's a rental. He's on a Super Bowl contending team with an awesome offensive line and a great offense, a lot of touchdowns. I mean, 10-plus touchdowns. Write it down for Rashad Penny now. I believe it's still a good sign that they didn't bring in a pass catcher for Kenneth Gainwell.
No, I think Gainwell does have that role. The one thing that I think Gainwell's actually in a good spot. Like Penny and Gainwell actually complement each other really well. My one concern right now, and this could just be a belief I've developed just from watching the NFL for a while, and Howie Roseman and how he does things might be a little different, and he legitimately could go into the season next year spending $3.5 million on that running back room. Like Penny got like a 1.2 or $1.3 million. I was like, what? Like
it's no money. It's no money. But this is what Brad Holmes is doing too. Brad Holmes knows this, right? Brad Holmes knows that it doesn't make any sense to spend any draft capital on a running back when you can go spend $1.5 million to get Rashad Penny.
Yeah, I still think there's a chance. Like I would say a more than likely than not, the Eagles walk away in the first or second round, and they draft a running back. And the thing is,
Oh, well, that would
how
be
it
devastating for
would be,
Gainwell. Bye
would
bye.
be, would be. I know, but I think we've seen it. Howie Roseman did it with Sanders in the past, and there's a lot of comments he's had. He mentioned how they really only did a running back by committee because they felt like that was the best way, but it doesn't necessarily mean that like that was the approach they wanted to go with. Like they just felt with the personnel, it was almost a shot at Sanders. We didn't think Sanders was good enough to give him like the bell cow role.
But he kind of
So
had the bell cow role though.
yeah, he
They
did.
just
He
didn't.
did
They just don't throw to running backs there.
exactly, and that's the thing is in that offense, it's going to be a little tough. I do think just if there was a team in the NFL that walked out of the draft with like a running back room like what the Eagles have now and didn't draft a running back, it would be the Eagles just because of I feel they spend their money in the right pockets of positions wisely. But I do think they are probably going to draft someone.
They could take it. Why don't they take a shot on a guy like Israel Abanikanda? Why don't they
Yeah,
take an upside shot on a guy like that? If you have Penny, I would be fine. Like fourth, fifth, sixth round, taking a shot on a guy, uh, an Eric Gray, an Evan Hull, someone who would be Kenneth Gainwell's backup,
yeah.
right? Someone where you bring him in, you get a good look at him in camp, and you're like, okay, we're comfortable now moving on from Boston Scott.
Matt, Matt, we have breaking news. Aaron Rodgers just said he intends to play for the Jets 14 seconds ago.
Mm-hmm. That was one of the Pat McAfee show.
Yeah, I think it's going on right now.
We're
So
live during the Pat McAfee show. I think there's like 200,000 watchers of the Pat McAfee show and 200 watchers of this show live. So
Rodgers,
just a few less. Just a few less. But yeah, we've known all along it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. That's not a secret, especially since Alan Lazard signs with the Jets as a Elijah Moore truther.
yes.
My next question is, what is up with this Alan Lazard signing? What does it mean for Elijah Moore? Is he getting traded?
No, I think it's a Corey Davis thing. It's a Corey Davis thing. So they had to make in order, like regardless when they were going to bring in Aaron Rodgers, there was like two or three like big cap casualties. I think Carl Lawson was one of them, and Corey Davis was like a clear guy that like fit the mold of like somebody that they would have to get rid of with that contract. And Alan
They are
Lazard,
similar players. Lazard and they are, man, if I had to pick a comp in the league with play style and athleticism and size, I think Lazard would be comp to Corey Davis.
so I think as part of the trade, I would be shocked if Corey Davis is not involved in the trade back to the Packers, or like if the Packers don't want him, he'd probably just get cut. So one of those two things. So I think it says less about Moore and more about Corey Davis. I just hope Elijah like just looked himself in the mirror this offseason and was like, hey, like I have good playmakers around me. We're like getting Aaron Rodgers here. I want to be here. I'm going to put
I'm
in
going
the
to be
work.
as Randall Cobb.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, please. But then they might sign Randall Cobb, and then Randall Cobb could be Randall
No,
Cobb.
no. Just be the slot receiver, Elijah. Just embrace it.
Just put your head down. You are an amazing football player. Just play football. Just play football. Focus on that. Be there. Aaron Rodgers is. If you are a good football player, Aaron Rodgers will get you the ball.
Yes.
We've seen that before.
Yeah.
Just
Where do you want Miles Sanders to go, by the way?
so if Eckler gets traded, Chargers would be number one for me. Chargers would be amazing if that
Ooh.
whole Eckler thing goes through. But again, I don't know how likely it is. If you're not paying Eckler, why would you pay Sanders? But I don't know how much of a market he's going to get. I think the Panthers are actually a really interesting one for Miles Sanders. They have a good offensive line. They really don't have many skill position players there where like Sanders could kind of carve himself out a very neat role, especially with a rookie quarterback. They could lean on him a little bit. I don't know what they're going to do with Deontay Foreman or one of those guys. So I'd say that is an interesting spot. I think the Bears, like, and I'll throw out the Bears with anyone because I want a good running back to be there. on the Bears alongside Fields, and I feel like that is a pairing that we probably sneakily could see happen because like the way Hurts and Fields play styles and Sanders really complemented Hurts, the Bears could look at that and be like, wow, like we can do the same thing here and we can see the same utilize a similar type of offense and find, the same running lanes for Sanders that we did.
Yeah, we're just going to shuffle these guys around.
Yeah, it's what it is.
Yeah,
We're playing.
Jamal Williams, you go here and replace this guy. Jamal Williams, you go to the Panthers and replace Dante Foreman. Then Dante Foreman gets shuffled over here. And then Montgomery then goes to Detroit. And then, they bring in Miles Sanders to Chicago. Right? It's all circular. I totally get it. Yeah, and then you see Philadelphia bringing in Jamal Williams. It all circles around. That makes sense. Yeah, I like it. I think the Bears is a great guess as to where Miles Sanders goes. That makes a lot of logical sense. I was talking in the Sonic Truth podcast to Theo and Alan. Theo Greminger thinks it's possible, though not likely, but it is possible that Tyler Algier could survive the running back movements that are going on. I think that's very unlikely.
No. I would be stunned.
I mean, even like the Foremans, the Hunts, the Alexander Madisons. Alexander Madison is a silent killer out there, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Alexander Madison is like the guy that someone's going to sign for like 2 years, like $5 million. And then he's just going to sit there. Like, dude, think about it. The Panthers, like there's opportunities where it's like, yo, just give this guy a role. Like the Panthers could let it go and pay him 2 years, $5 million. Just let him be your starting running back. Maybe you draft another guy as well. And like, we've seen him be productive every single time. Like he's had that role. Like maybe he's not like the best pass catcher in the world, but like as terms of a grinder and like a full workhorse back, like, yeah, like why not? Like he's the perfect, like under the radar. We don't have to spend a lot of money on him. Let's get him involved. Like if it's Rashad Penny's, you're getting him for 1.3 million or whatever the heck it was. Like, come on, like Madison can't be that expensive. So like, I don't know, maybe he goes there. That could be interesting. I think so. I was, this was one of the big things when I was at the combine, I was talking to some people, met some Falcons peeps and I asked about Tyler Algier and I asked about the running back situation. And like, basically I was just told like, we like Tyler, but like we are going to get like somebody else, and it could be somebody to compliment him. It could be maybe like in a chain, but I think like for them to sit there at 8 and draft a Bijan is fully in the like I really do think like Bijan at 8 is in the cards for Atlanta. I think them getting a Jahmyr Gibbs early second round, like I literally wouldn't be shocked if like one of these top running backs like a Kendre Miller or in a chain or I think that they still want that guy alongside, even though they do like Tyler. I still think there's another guy that they'll probably
what about Miller in the third round?
Yeah, that'd be
Miller
great.
could slip to the early third.
I would love that. Come on, give me that. But then it's like, but then
Roshan in the early third. I mean, Roshan would absolutely obliterate Algier's value. He would have no value with Roshan or Kendre Miller.
I wonder though if they were to take a running back, it would be more of like the pass catcher type, just to complement an Algier. I think that might be an avenue they go down, but I don't know. I'd be nervous if Kendre went down there because then all like my favorite like prospects coming out would be on the Falcons, and then they'd still have no quarterback, and then I'd be just all my Dynasty teams would have just Falcons on there, and they'd score like 17 points a game and run the ball a ton, and it would just be terrible. So. I'm almost hoping a guy I don't like goes to the Falcons so that Kyle Pitts and Drake Clement can continue to do their thing.
Yeah. So looking at the fallout from this, Aaron Rodgers to the Jets, also Lazard to the Jets.
Yep.
Are we bracing for Christian Watson to be the sort of surging player, jumping up round after round in best ball, just an ADP that loses all of its tether to reality? Or is it the lack of a quarterback in Green Bay going to keep him in check?
He's going to be in check if Aaron Rodgers was there, he was going to like be the guy that's everybody's just going to one up each other. Oh, I'm the Christian Watson guy. No, and then suddenly he's like as a third round ADP, and you're like, what are we doing here right now? But I think his ADP is going to be held in check because there's so many questions about Jordan Love. It seems like all indications right now are the Packers are rolling with Jordan Love. Like this is what you drafted him for. He has his time to shine. And you at least want to see what you have from Jordan Love. And who knows, Jordan Love could be better than we expect, and then obviously boost Christian Watson's value. But like at the same time, they really don't have many weapons alongside Watson, so he could just naturally be that guy. And we saw him; he's pretty good. He was a lot better than I thought he was going to be, and he's somebody that I'm really interested in heading into next year. But I do think it's probably a good thing that Aaron Rodgers isn't there because now we can get him cheaper and just draft him based off of who he is as a wide receiver rather than drafting him situation based.
Are you buying or selling Christian Watson in Dynasty?
I'm buying him.
You're buying?
I'm buying Christian Watson, yeah.
I like to buy good receivers with bad quarterbacks in Dynasty. I think that's a tactic. I mean, it's finally going to pay off with DJ Moore. Eventually it pays off. It pays off. I remember when it paid off for Chris Godwin. You go Tom Brady. I was like, ah!
Terry McLaurin's still waiting too. So I'm with you. It's like it's just buy the guys that we know are good receivers, and then it's like, yo, imagine buying Garrett Wilson before last year because he didn't have a bad quarterback. Now he has Aaron Rodgers freaking throwing him the ball, and he's like one of the best in the game. And it's like you just get these guys.
Well, hold on, Aaron Rodgers is no longer one of the best in the game. Aaron Rodgers couldn't crack 20 fantasy points in a game last year at all. Could not do it.
To be fair, they gave him nothing to work with.
They gave him nothing. He will this year. He will this year with Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore. Absolutely will. Breece Hall out of the backfield, no doubt. But
electric.
It's not like it's a godsend type quarterback. It's only a godsend type quarterback relative to what he had previously. It's a godsend relative to Joe Flacco, Zach Wilson, Mike White. I can't because we ought to talk ourselves into Mike White, but Mike White's not good.
No.
Right? Mike, hey guys, Mike White ain't that good. It's like, I don't know. He's pretty good. No, you're just saying that because he's not Zach Wilson, and Zach Wilson's that bad.
Expectations were so low that Mike White was just a barometer for like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. It's like, no, this guy actually is not a good quarterback, but he's doing things in terms of getting his good players the ball that your second overall pick failed to do. Like I almost felt bad for Jets fans last year. You could just feel the desperation come out of them, and now they're getting vindicated for it. So shout out to Jets fans. I'm happy for you guys.
Shout out to Giants fans as well. They got Darren Waller.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we like that.
That's pretty cool. I mean, to me, that's a dream scenario where very few people are hurt by it.
Yeah.
Like they're helped by it. Like, okay, the target share goes up for Devontae Adams, moderately, even more for Jacoby Myers. So they're all helped by it. Daniel Jones gets a much-needed weapon. He's helped by it. Saquon Barkley now is just going to be operating in a better offense with more threatening weapons. He's helped by it. The only person who's not helped by it is Isaiah Hodgins. Really, when Isaiah Hodgins and Dan Bellinger are the only players negatively impacted by a move, it's a great move for fantasy.
Amazing. That was like the ultimate win-win. That was the ultimate win-win trade. The Giants needed weapons. Yes, they're probably going to draft someone early on this year to get some, but like you need more than one. Like you're rolling out Isaiah Hodgins, Richie James, Darius Slayton's a free agent. That was your third receiver. Daniel Bellinger. Like the fact that Brian Dable and Daniel Jones was able to actually have a competent offense with those weapons was like mind blowing. So for them to actually get some players in there that actually can do things in the receiving game, not that I actually think Isaiah Hodgins and Richie James are both like sneaky, like fun little guys, but they're not like wide receiver ones or like guys that you really want to rely on offense on. So like getting guys like Waller there to add like legitimate prominent pieces that we've seen have massive success in the NFL, like to your offense, get that and then draft another guy. And then you have guys like Hodgins and James that complement those guys. And now you have an offense that's actually like able to do a lot of interesting things next year.
The Giants are drafting at pick 25. Jackson Smith and Jigba will be off the board.
Yep.
But
Quentin?
Jordan Addison, perhaps?
Jordan Addison could be a fun one.
They don't have anyone quite like Jordan Addison right now.
No, I like Jordan a lot.
That would be good. I mean, whoever goes there is arguably going to be the highest drafted of the rookie receivers in best ball because there's such a target void.
Yeah.
So if Jordan Addison ends up going to the Giants and Jackson Smith and Jigba goes somewhere that's a lower volume offense with a lot of target competition, you could see people actually drafting Addison over JSN in best ball leagues.
Yeah.
If he's going to be the de facto number one for the Giants, if the Giants do go receiver with that 25th pick, I think a lot of people think they will.
Yeah, I think so too. And you're in a good spot too, where you're still able to get one of the guys, even if Addison's gone, Quentin Johnson maybe. If he's gone, then Zay Flowers. You're in a good spot where it's like one of those four guys. Just please, like, don't choose Jalen Hyatt, please. Like
Jalen, oh my God, don't even get me started with Jalen Hyatt. One of the most overrated receivers I've seen in my years in this business. Zay Flowers, though. Zay Flowers, I can close my eyes and I can see him in a Giants jersey. Zay Flowers at 25 it has to happen.
Lock it in.
I think you lock it in. And then remember, if that happens, he is going to surge in best ball.
Yeah.
Just because all these guys that are running the projections are going to then pencil him in to be the target leader. And then what that means for his projection, he's going to leapfrog all these other rookies. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's the carousel, man. It's wherever these top four wide receivers land. Especially when you're in like the early to like mid-teens, it's kind of gross in terms of like a landing spot where you want these wide receivers to go. Like you go to the Patriots or you go to the Titans or you go to, I don't know. I don't think the Commanders draft, but like you go to the Ravens. It's like now you're like in positions where you're not the most excited about the landing spot for like potentially a Jackson Smith and Jigba or one of these other guys. But then you start going on a little bit later, and it's like if these wide receivers can just hang on the draft board, and then once you get to like 19, 20, and then that's when it starts getting really fun. We're like, oh my God, these guys like have a ton of potential. If one of them slips down to the freaking Chiefs, like that's exciting. There's so many fun possibilities with those wide receivers, like in the early or the playoff range, essentially.
Why haven't Paris Campbell or DJ Chark signed yet?
Dude, the wide receiver market's weird, man.
Isn't it weird? I figured they would be signing early. Yeah. Potentially before Myers, because that's the best in class. That's best in class, man. Can you believe it?
Myers messed up the market, man. $11 million. Like I thought he was going to go 15 plus. I thought it was a lock. He was going to be 15 plus. Like Christian Kirk getting like, was it 21 after like incentives last year? Like Christian Kirk, don't get me wrong. He's a good receiver, but he's not like $21 million receiver. And then you have Jacoby Myers, who's the like main top guy here. He's only getting 11. What does that mean for the rest of the guys? No one's getting paid. Like, how is Nelson Aguilar able to get like an $11 million deal as like the seventh or eighth best receiver on the market a few years ago? How are some of these guys able to do that? And then Jacoby Myers is the top guy getting 11 million.
How does he sign that deal? How does he settle for that?
Familiarity. He probably Josh McDaniels gave him the pitch. He's like, hey,
just like Geno signing with Seattle, just to give them a solid. Hey, you believed in me. I'll be loyal.
I mean, Jacoby
might
just like Vegas.
It's crazy. I think that one of these guys, Paris Campbell, they're going to get Chark. They're going to get some money. They're going to have to get some money. There's such thirst for wide receivers especially when you look at what happened last year with Kirk and even Zay Jones.
Yeah.
They're going to get paid. I think that's what they know, that there's money out there. They know there's demand for receivers, and they're holding out. They don't want to be Jacoby Myers. I think that's what's going on.
And I think they can go to good spots too. And I think that's the cool thing is I think when you're looking at teams like potentially like the Chargers or Chiefs, I think for a DJ Chark, I don't know if the Chiefs would, just because Marcus Valdes-Scantling is like, he's like, oh, why do they even, first of all, why do they even do that deal? And secondly, they're almost like strapped to that contract where it's like DJ Chark would be like a perfect fit with Mahomes. He can kind of get his career rejuvenated, get him like a 1 year, $6-7 million deal, let him kind of prove himself. Or you go to the Chargers where it's like, if you wanted like an extra downfield threat, compliment him, like instead of having Jalen Guyton, why not have DJ Chark? Like that's just a much better version of that. And that can be a really, really potent offense there. So I think you throw him in the AFC.
Chark to the Chargers would be sick.
Yeah, amazing. Like it's perfect too. It's perfect for his career too. And he has two guys that'll complement him. He'll be able to.
He'd be DJ Charger. I would love that. DJ Charger.
We love it, man. We love it.
Oh my God. Jalen Guyton. Imagine Jalen Guyton times 1,000,000.
Amazing.
All right, I'll get you out of here. I have a bonus question. Give me your truther guy. You can't say Kyle Pitts. You can't say Elijah Moore. Okay. You need a truther that's even deeper. Like my guy, Ashton Dulin, signed a 2-year extension with Indianapolis. Booyah. Pro Bowler Ashton Dulin. Go deep on a guy with us.
All right. I cannot do Trey Lance. That's too easy. That's too easy. But
Trey Lance is a good truther, but I agree. Let's go deeper.
All right, we got a tight
end. Look, we've stumped Dalton Kates.
Last year I did Eno. I like that.
Eno was good. That's a good truther.
Yeah, but I can't run that back. All right, we got another one. My tight end truther is going to be Donald Parham with the Chargers.
Ooh,
I like Parham. I've always liked him. He was like a really good player in like one of the alternative leagues, really productive there. He's got that
was it the XFL? Which one was it? I mean, in the chat, help us out. Was it the XFL? What was it?
XFL, I honestly don't know, but he was really productive.
USFL.
He's got the size there. He's kind of been banged up a little bit, but once they start using him a little bit, like you get that kind of bully size there in that offense. I know Gerald Everett is like I like Gerald Everett a lot, but I mean, come on, like Donald Parham, like a 7th year breakout. It's just possible.
His body awareness is bad. His hands are bad. There's issues with Parham, but I get it. I love players like him, big, explosive athletes. Let me look at the Dynasty rankings at Player Profile. Look at the. It was the XFL, by the way. So thanks to Franz in the chat. It was the XFL. We were right, as usual. So if we look at the wide receiver, tight ends. Yeah. Oh, who we got here? Wow. I think Albert Akuigbunam is the truther candidate at tight end. A lot of people think that are convinced that it's gonna be Greg Dulcich, and Greg Dulcich was great as a rookie. There's a lot of people at the FFPC tight end premium who are paying significant price tags to get Greg Dulcich in Dynasty because that tight end premium spot is just so valuable. But I'm not let go of Albert Akuigbunam. Tight ends also have a very high injury rate, so it's very possible that either Alberto or Dulcich suffers an injury and it opens things up for him. But I'm going to bet on the guy with a 100th percentile speed score, the guy that was super productive as a rookie, or as a college player in his first year in college. Okay, as a freshman in college, 11 touchdowns at Missouri. Okay, freshman in college, Albert Akuigbunam. The guy's super productive. There was politics was the reason why he didn't play more last year. There was a relationship issue with the coach, And then when they were forced to play him, all he does is be productive. He has more upside, like it or not, than Greg Dulcich. He does. And that's going to be my tight end truther for the foreseeable future. I think we could be years out. Like, we could be in 2025 and it's still going to be Albert O for me.
Yeah, these tight ends are interesting. Like, you can truth them for a while because you never know. Like, Evan Ingram bounces back. David Njoku had a good year last year. Some of these guys just take a while. Like, we've seen it in the past. Like, Eric Ebron had a bounce back year. We've seen, like, Delaney Walker, his career arc. You never know. You never know some of these guys. So it's always good to keep in the back pocket there. I'm curious your question. Curious here. Would guys like Hunter Renfrow or like something like that, would they qualify as truthers, or they were too good for them to be?
I think you'd be a truther on them now that he's had 3 out of his 4 seasons in the NFL have been horrific. One good year, and now they bring in an upgraded version of him, and he was overrated from the beginning, and we were never high on him. If you wanted to truther a guy like that, I wouldn't agree with it. I think that would be a waste of a truther. I mean, a truther candidate, a truther tag is very valuable. Like, we have our guys. We have 5 of sort of my guys that we designate at Player Profiler among the staff. And I have 4 guys that are like 1 rookie and like 3 veterans and 1 truther. So that's a big deal. I was between Alberto and Doolin, and I went Doolin. To burn that on Hunter Renfrow would just be bad. That'd be a bad idea.
I think he's a really good player.
Oh,
I really do. I do. No, I think Hunter Renfrow has been a good player. He's been efficient when he's gotten the ball. He gets targeted at a high rate. I don't know if he has like this insane upside, but like within his role in the offense, like every single time he got the ball, he was efficient. He got targeted at a high rate. I don't know what's going to happen there, Jimmy Garoppolo, but like, dude, like I think Hunter Renfrow is like sneakily, like if you look at this past like few years, like he's efficient when he gets the ball. He gets targeted at a high rate. Like, he does the good things well, but it's like he just hasn't seen the role. And now Darren Waller's gone. And when Darren Waller has been out of the lineup, he's seen more snaps. And when he's done that, he's played better in those scenarios.
He's not better than Myers, dude. He's not better than Myers. I'm sorry. Myers is basically a better version of Hunter Renfrow in every way. I have a rule that I don't draft players in fantasy football that look like me. Okay? I'm not going to have any Bryce Young. I'm not going to have any Hunter Renfrow. You can't look too much like me. You can't be 5'10", 5'11", 180, right? And without being super fast. Okay? It's not happening. Right? You need to have some, like, Kyler Murray looks nothing like me. Okay? Because Kyler Murray can run like the wind. Okay? Bryce Young, way closer to me. And then all he really has that I don't have is like all these football skills. But like if he's in a lab and we're measuring just like explosiveness and like how strong his arm is and all these things, he checks in way closer to me, right? Hunter Renfrow, similar thing going on there. Not great. Even how tall is Jacoby Myers? Even Jacoby Myers doesn't have much in terms of the physical profile, although I think he's a bit taller than Hunter Renfrow. I think they're both similar in terms of their athleticism.
Yeah, Hunter's 5'10". Let me look up Jacoby.
Hunter is 5. Okay, there you go. That's what I was. Okay, yeah. So Jacoby Myers is 6'2". Okay, that's a big difference. Okay, that guy officially in no way comparable to me. Hunter Renfrow, way more comparable. And I'm out. I'm out on those guys. Okay? I'm out.
I love Hunter. I think maybe I just see a lot of myself in him. I play a little football. I play the slot. I like his game. Very deceptive player.
You know what? You're better off comparing yourself to like Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd's just a level up from Hunter. You should compare yourself to him instead.
I like Tyler Boyd. I love Tyler Boyd.
Tyler Boyd's a guy I can get. That's my limit, right? I can get there on Tyler Boyd. I can roster him. I like him, especially on the Bengals, right? But that's the threshold, and I think that's funny because that's as high as Renfrow got in our dynasty rankings. Like he got parity with Tyler Boyd. And then that's where it really, he couldn't get past that. And we were right.
Yeah, I may have had Hunter Renfrow a little too high. I had him really high. Dude, I mean, you got to give the man respect. He had 100 catch and a 1,000-yard season just like 2 years ago.
He had a 100 catch season. No one, and I repeat, no one, Dalton, will ever take those 100 catches away from Hunter Renfrow.
They can't.